certainly doesn't. They were spying on my campaign, and it went right up to the top, and everybody knows it, and now we're going to find out. You have Bull Durham, who's supposed to be the toughest. I've never met him, never spoke to him, but he's supposed to be the smartest and the best, and he works for Bill Barr, who's a great attorney general. We would maybe have ended this thing a lot sooner had he been there originally. But you have some people that are great people now, and patriotic people. They love our country. And this was spying on my campaign, something that has never been done in the history of our country. This was an overthrow attempt at the presidency. They tried to overthrow the presidency. This is a disgrace. But I'm not surprised to see it. It's just starting to come up. I think this is nothing compared to what you'll see over the next couple of weeks.
These media outlets...
People are sick.
No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. It will be a big... No, I really mean it.
We start with this massive news. The deep state, I guarantee you this was leaked on purpose to get ahead of what is coming, and that is a huge crisis, because breaking just moments ago, another blow to the Democrats' impeachment charade. There is a report at this hour that an FBI official is now under criminal investigation for altering a document related to the 2016 surveillance of the Trump campaign advisor, Carter Page. Now remember, the FISA warrant against Donald Trump campaign, remember, that was the back door to get everything into all things Trump campaign, Trump transition team, Trump presidency. Now these reports bearing out, well, that would be called FISA abuse. Exactly what we have been exposing on this show for a very, very long time. And now finally, after years of waiting, thanks to the Horowitz probe, now at an end, justice is about to be served. Clearly, this is being leaked in advance to try and get ahead of the report that Lindsey Graham confirmed to us last night right here on this program. The FISA report will come out on December the 9th. Horowitz will testify before the Senate Judiciary, that's Lindsey Graham's committee, on December the 11th. We're going to continue to monitor this developing story throughout the hour. Sarah Carter will break more news on this in a minute. We're also tracking 4 other big stories. Get this, including another disastrous day for the Schiff impeachment coup attempt. It was even worse, believe it or not, than yesterday. Plus major new information surrounding the Bidens, thanks to a letter from Senator Lindsey Graham. We have that letter. We also have a great new video. You're going to want to hit your record button tonight and get this for, well, decades to come. But first, we start in the Washington swamp. More hearsay, more conjecture, more opinion, and more arrogant bureaucrats. Oh, and an overheard phone call in a busy restaurant that, are you ready for this? Was not on speaker, contradicting the person that was actually on the private call, and the person was at the other end of the table. This is how bad this Schiff show has now become. It's so bad, he even presented a fact witness today with 0 facts, none whatsoever. This was the Schiff show's grand finale. This was his closing argument, and today's hearing was supposed to tie everything together. Instead, again, this blew up right in Schiff's face and the Democrats' faces. Here's what Congressman Jim Jordan said with the perfect summary of the non-case of the Democratic Party against the President of the United States. Take a look.
July 19th, Dr. Hill and Colonel Vindman told Taylor what Sondland told them. July 19th, Sondland told Taylor about the upcoming Trump-Zelensky call. July 20th, Sondland told Taylor what Sondland told Zelensky to tell Trump. July 20th, Dana Look tells Taylor what Zelensky told Dana Look. July 28th, Morrison tells Taylor what happened on the Trump-Zelensky call. August 16th, Volker tells Taylor what Yarmak told Volker. August 21st, Breckbull talks to Taylor. August 22nd, Morrison talks to Taylor. August 29th, Yarmak talks to Taylor. September 1st, Morrison tells Taylor what Sondland told Morrison about what Yarmak told Sondland. September 2nd, Morrison tells Taylor what Dana Look told Morrison. September 7th, Morrison tells Taylor what Sondland told Trump. And September 8th, Sondland tells Taylor what Trump told Sondland.
All right, you follow that? Because that is the Democrats' case. That's it. in a nutshell. That's supposed to be their compelling evidence. That's why they want to hurt this country, bring this country to the brink of impeachment, because they never got over the fact that Donald Trump won the election. They never saw it coming. The two witnesses today, utter train wrecks. One, a diplomat named David Holmes. He actually claimed, this is not, I'm not making this up, that he overheard President Trump on a phone call talk about an investigation on the other end of the phone call with Ambassador Sondland, while this guy was sitting across the table from Sondland at a busy, loud restaurant, and the call wasn't even on speaker. Wow, super hearing now. Holmes did not hear the entire conversation. His testimony contradicts what the guy actually on the call said. That was supposed to be yesterday's star witness, Gordon Sondland. That's what the Schiff show is now reduced to. The other witness from today's hearing, zero. I mean zero relevant facts. It wasn't even totally clear why she was there. In the opening statement, falsely accused Republicans of ignoring Russia meddling and also falsely accused Republicans of pushing a conspiracy theory about Ukrainian election interference. Will somebody please give her the January 11, 2017 report at Politico.com about Ukrainian election interference? Somebody needs to please give her the Ukrainian court's own findings that Ukraine did, in fact, interfere in the 2016 elections to help Hillary Clinton and hurt Donald Trump. Now, thankfully, in a powerful moment, well, this was really powerful. Congressman Winstrup, well, he set the record straight. Take a look at this.
You know, in 1998, I voluntarily joined the United States Army Reserve because I saw our country under attack time and time again. Bill Clinton was the president. I didn't vote for Bill Clinton, but he was my commander-in-chief. I'm grateful to live in a country that gets to legitimately elect our leaders. And I've been to places where people don't get to. And it's not pretty. Dr. Hill, I'm sorry, I have to say this. You said based on statements you've heard that some in this committee believe Russia did not conduct a campaign against our country is false. That's Mr. Schiff's narrative. That's where you've heard it. We did a whole report on it. And we agree that Russia has done this since the Soviet Union, and they've actually gotten better at it. That's a problem. But at the same time, certain Ukrainians did work against candidate Trump. Some with the DNC. And if that's debunked, why is it Mr. Schiff has denied DNC operative Alexandra Chalupa from testifying to come forward and debunk it?
All right, remember Politico reported that Chalupa, wow, she was the DNC operative. Remember, she worked directly with the Ukrainian embassy in Washington. She went there to collude, to dig up dirt on Hillary Clinton and smear Donald Trump and members of his campaign team. That would be called, in my mind, collusion. But today's witness, a so-called Ukraine expert, knew nothing about it. Reporter Cheryl Atkinson, formerly of CBS News, pointed out the idea that some of our top experts on Ukraine are closed-minded to this information, and at least one said he was entirely unaware of it, but were making important decisions, could be considered disturbing. Yeah, you think? This was probably the biggest revelation out of the hearings. It has nothing to do with President Trump, and without a doubt, the Schiff show is a giant failure dud. But don't take my word for it. Just listen to former independent counsel Ken Starr. He thought yesterday, oh, this is going to be really a bad day for the Republicans and President Trump. He's now changed his mind.
We're not in trial. We're in a fact-gathering mode, but what are we gathering facts about? And was there a crime? And then let's weigh this gravity and seriousness of that crime. Does it reach the level of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors? My assessment of the evidence thus far, nowhere close. The evidence is conflicting and ambiguous.
Conflicting, ambiguous, nowhere close. This is an absolute, unmitigated disaster now for the Democrats. Now you have even the compromised, corrupt, coward, congenital liar, Adam Schiff, guy that's lied to us for 3 years. He knows that this is a disaster, and he showed his anger. Republicans defeated the Schiff show so badly, well, as the Charlie Daniels song says, and the devil went down to Georgia, and he knew he'd been beat. And he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Donald Trump's feet, I guess in this case. He lost, he knew it, and by the way, you know, before we show you this, you have to remember, this is the guy, the only person on tape ever caught colluding with somebody that he thinks is a Russian to get compromising materials on Donald Trump. This isn't the first time this guy got caught lying. Like he lied about, oh, I have no idea who the whistleblower is. Well, I should have been honest about it, but no, now I don't know about it. By the way, one of my favorite tapes of all time, the very thing accusing Donald Trump of with Russia, he was guilty of compromising materials. Listen.
The day after Bob Mueller testified that Donald Trump invited Russian interference, hey, Russia, if you're listening, come get Hillary's emails.
Do you have something hard that you can't reveal?
I can't reveal that, Chris.
The other defense is the president denies it.
We have not spoken directly with the whistleblower.
Donald Trump is back on the phone asking another nation to involve itself in another U.S. election.
What's the nature of the compromise?
Well, there were pictures of naked Trump.
And so Putin was made aware of the availability of the compromising material?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. We will be back in touch.
We shouldn't really rely on what the president said in the call record. We should imagine he said something else.
And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent. Understand lots of it.
Compromised, corrupt, congenital liar. He's lied to the country for 3 years. 3 long years. And Schiff's closing remarks showed his rage. Now, I'm sure if it was up to him, he'd just try and bring in more hearsay witnesses, opinion witnesses for, I guess, auditions first, depositions, and then hearings. But I think Pelosi probably won't let him. Remember, she didn't want the Schiff show to begin with, and it's been pretty clear her priority is to get the hell out of this mess as quickly as possible, throw it to the Senate as quickly as possible, placate her radical base so she can remain Speaker in name only. If Democrats, they want to vote on the House floor before Christmas, well, that doesn't leave the compromised congenital liar Schiff much more time to do much more investigating. So I had to make a prediction tonight. I'd say that Schiff admits defeat, spends next week, he'll draft ridiculous articles of impeachment and send this whole flaming bag of dog crap to the Judiciary Committee around Thanksgiving weekend. Good luck turning that garbage into something usable, Jerry Nadler. And on a side note, look at this. Now, maybe Schiff's Ukrainian fantasy, I can't believe it, might have been cooked up during his Taste of Ukraine fundraiser. That's right, the compromised congenital liar, yeah, he had a fundraiser with a Ukrainian businessman. You can't make that up. And at this point, Democrats, their top allies in the mob of the media, they are desperate. These people are the same people, same liars, same conspiracy theorists, same hoax spreaders, if you will. They've been lying to we the people now for 3+ years. One hoax after another, one conspiracy theory after another. Russia, Russia, Russia. Impeach, impeach, impeach. Month after month, every second, minute, hour of any 24-hour day. Predicting this is the president's demise. That is the president's demise. This is a game changer. Breathlessly, dramatically crying wolf for 4 years. Now, you may want to hit the record button now because you're going to want to show this to your friends. 3, 2, 1, go.
I have not seen anything like this since October 20th, 1973, when President Nixon fired Archibald Cox.
Richard Nixon.
Watergate. Echoes of Watergate. A giant step toward impeachment. Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment.
Impeachment. Impeachment implications are now in the air.
The president will be removed from office.
Bombshell.
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 Bombshell. Bombshell.
Bombshell. Bombshell. Bombshell stories dropping seemingly every day.
He will resign the presidency.
Warming to the idea of his resignation.
He should resign.
The president sees the walls closing in and is lashing out.
He feels the walls closing in.
Closing in.
You could feel the thread being pulled. You can feel the clothes starting to come off the emperor. I believe this is the beginning of the end.
Donald Trump's done. He's done. There's no question about that.
2016, after the election, all through 2017, all through 2018 and 2019. Who would ever trust these people? These people are sick. Now, we do have the other breaking news, as we mentioned at the top of the show. This is huge. Look at this. CNN now reported all over the place. An FBI official under criminal investigation for allegedly altering a document. This is related to the 2016 spying on Carter Page. That backdoored them into all things Trump campaign, transition team, and then, yes, the Trump presidency. And the evidence reportedly has been turned over to the prosecutor, John Durham. Now, this looks like a major preview of coming attractions. Remember, Senator Graham on this show last night told us definitively the Inspector General report on FISA abuse will be out on December 9th. Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, will be before Senator Graham's committee on December 11th. And according to our own investigative reporter, Sarah Carter, the Durham probe has now expanded to the same Pentagon office that awarded multiple contracts, that's right, to the spy Stefan Halper. Here to react to this and much more, Fox News contributor, investigative reporter Sarah Carter. All right, to me, this got leaked because they know it's coming out anyway, because now the Horowitz report is, anybody that's mentioned in it is getting an opportunity to see what's in it.
That's right, Sean. That's what I've been told by a number of sources, that the leaks actually came from witnesses, possibly, that had a chance to review the report. Remember, only those witnesses can review the report. I did contact Carter Page. I did speak with him tonight. He said he has not been allowed to access anything in the report. Of course, he has not been interviewed. He is just a part of the report. He says he's going to wait and see, and he's not jumping to any conclusions yet. Another big development was multiple sources confirmed to me that John Durham has expanded the probe into the Pentagon, Sean. And this is significantly important because this deals with the Office of Net Assessment. This is the office that basically contracted Stefan Halper to do reports. Stefan Halper had four major reports that totaled about $1 million that the Inspector General of the Pentagon basically had no information on. They couldn't exactly see during an audit what Halper did, why he received this much money. It became very clear to Senator Chuck Grassley with the Finance Committee that there needed to be more investigations. And in July, he contacted the Pentagon and said, look, we need more documents. We need to see these documents. We need to meet with you. We need to know what's going on here. And I found out also just recently, the Pentagon, after waiting months and months, the committee actually got the documents that they had requested. That was just recently, within the last week, and now Charles Grassley's committee is reviewing actually those documents on Stefan Halper.
Unbelievable. Sarah Carter, this is a preview. What we've known has been coming, what we've been reporting. It's interesting on Twitter. I did see a lot of comments from people. Oh, fake news, CNN is shocked. And I'm like, that people are writing, well, if you followed Hannity, John Solomon, Sarah Carter, Greg Garrett, and everybody else, who I'm not going to have time to mention, you would have known about this a couple of years now.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. This is just the beginning. Buckle up. Stay tuned. We will have all the details, and we will be proven right. Every bit of reporting we have done on this program has been fully vetted, accurate, and true. Premeditated fraud on a FISA court for the purpose of spying on a presidential candidate, then his transition team, and, yeah, then a president. It's that bad. And there's going to be more. Oh, outsourcing spying to allied countries? Wow, so you can circumvent American laws? Yeah, we'll be hearing about that soon, too. Now, the boomerang of justice is just in full swing tonight because Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, he has officially sent a letter to the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. We have obtained a copy. Senator Graham requesting key documents surrounding the Bidens and Burisma holdings. And tonight we're learning even more about Hunter Biden's shady dealings. Look at this. According to new records reviewed by the Washington Examiner, Hunter Biden linked Rosemont Capital. Remember, that's the team he's a part of. They got a sweetheart $130 million in special federal loans during the 2009 bailout. Joe Biden was the vice president and a vocal backer of a financial bailout. Now, these are real scandals, real stories. Yep, worthy of real investigation. We have a real quid pro quo with Joe.
We are joined right now. It is our great pleasure to welcome the President of the United States, Donald Trump, calling in. Mr. Trump, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you on Fox and Friends today. As you said in your tweet, another slow news week. Let's start with the fact that the story that Grip just brought us, that it sounds like a former FBI lawyer, it sounds like, was doing something with the FISA application. That person got removed. And this goes to your argument that somebody at the FBI was out to get you, right?
Well, it certainly does. And they were spying on my campaign, and it went right up to the top, and everybody knows it, and now we're going to find out. You have Bull Durham, who's supposed to be the toughest. I've never met him, never spoke to him, but he's supposed to be the smartest and the best, and he works for Bill Barr, who's a great attorney general. We would maybe have ended this thing a lot sooner had he been there originally. But you have some people that are great people now, and patriotic people. They love our country. And this was spying on my campaign, something that has never been done in the history of our country. This was an overthrow attempt at the presidency. They tried to overthrow the presidency. This is a disgrace. But well, I'm not surprised to see it. It's just starting to come up. I think this is nothing compared to what you'll see over the next couple of weeks.
These media outlets are saying that the FBI lawyer manipulated and altered key documents related to that warrant application so that they could get permission to surveil Carter Page. He was on with Maria, Mornings with Maria, a few minutes ago, and he says it's a cover-up. Listen.
They have just been putting false information out there to the media, the Democrats and their allies in Washington in the media, constantly pushing lies after lies. And then finally, this gets picked up by a court. It gets picked up by the Comey-McCabe FBI, and they got a warrant, a fraudulent warrant, I believe, to spy on myself as a way of getting into the Trump campaign. There has been a continued cover-up to this very day. We still don't have the truth, but hopefully we'll get that soon.
Does this compare with what happened with that Ukraine conversation? Democrats want to impeach you because of that conversation, but this looks pretty bad.
So my conversation was a perfect conversation. The Ukrainian president said, what are they talking about? They must think we're nuts in this country. And this conversation was flawless. It was appropriate. It was perfect. It was nice. It was everything. And they even said that. They came out and said it. Now, compare that, and they try and impeach. And by the way, they've looked like fools over the last 5 days. These interviews and these were their witnesses. This was the best they've got. Adam Schiff is a sick puppy. He is it's been incredible. Now, what you're going to see, I predict, will be perhaps the biggest scandal in the history of our country, political scandal. But I guess that's the biggest, because what's more important than political?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I think you're going to see things that are going to be incredible if it's done right. And I purposely stay out. I tell Bill Barr to handle everything. I wouldn't have to. I could get very much involved, but I purposely don't. And I haven't. And you know what? It's better that way, I guess. I don't have any obligation legally to do that, but I've let them handle it. So you have a FISA report coming out, which the word is, it's historic. That's what the word is. That's what I hear. And if it's historic, you're going to see something. And then perhaps even more importantly, you have Durham coming out shortly thereafter. He's the U.S. attorney, and he's already announced it's criminal. And we'll see what happens.
Mr. President,
I'll tell you what, you have a lot of very, very bad people. And, you know, a lot of people say deep state. I don't like to use the word deep state. I just say they're really bad, sick people.
Mr. President, you say it could be historic. You have suggested in the past that this might go much higher than the Department of Justice or the FBI during the Obama administration. Are you suggesting it could actually go up into the West Wing of the Obama years?
You're dealing at the highest levels of government. They were spying on my campaign. This is my opinion. I said it a long time ago. Remember when I put out a tweet and I talked about the wiretapping in quotes, meaning modern-day version of whatever wiretapping may be, and all hell broke loose.
Well, how high did it go, Mr. President? How high did it go?
Personally, I think it goes all the way, okay? Because I think it's impossible
for Barack Obama,
for Brennan, and for Clapper, and for all of these losers that you had over there. I think it's impossible for them to be doing things. And let's see what it all says, but it's impossible. Susan Rice, the person that worked at the United Nations, who went after FISA reports and went after reports like she ate them for lunch. And, you know, you look at the previous administration, they went after like a few, and she was getting them at levels that nobody's ever even imagined before that had nothing to do with her. No, I think this goes to the highest level. I hate to say it. I think it's a disgrace. They thought I was going to win, and they said, how could we stop them? They wrote up the phony fake dossier, the disgusting fake dossier, and they tried to have it put out prior to the election, just to show you how incompetent they were. They spent millions and millions of dollars. Hillary Clinton paid for it, and the Democrats. A lot of it had to do, they say, with Ukraine.
But Mr. President,
it's very interesting. It's very interesting. They have the server, right, from the DNC, Democratic National Committee.
Who has the server?
Now, the FBI went in and they told them, get out of here. You're not getting. We're not giving it to you. They gave the server to CrowdStrike, or whatever it's called, which is a company owned by a very wealthy Ukrainian. And I still want to see that server. You know, the FBI has never gotten that server. That's a big part of this whole thing. Why did they give it to a Ukrainian company?
Are you sure they did that?
Yeah.
Are you sure they gave it to Ukraine?
Well, that's what the word is, and that's what I asked actually in my phone call, if you know. I mean, I asked it very point blank because we're looking for corruption. There's tremendous corruption. We're looking for, why should we be giving hundreds of millions of dollars to countries when there's this kind of corruption? And if you look at my call, I said, you know, corruption. I think he said it to me. He got elected on the basis of corruption. And I also, by the way, going back to that, why isn't Germany putting up money? Why isn't France putting up money? Why isn't all of the European nations? Why aren't they putting up? You have the European Union, and they're benefited a lot more by grain than we are.
A ruling against the president's sham national emergency declaration to build his wasteful border wall.
These people are saying like a massive wall. Yes. Why aren't they putting up money? How come it's always the United States that puts up money? The suckers. Why is it always the United States? And these are the questions I ask. I'm going to continue to ask them.
True. So, Mr. President, the best you can. I know you've said that from day one about wiretapping, and you felt as though the previous administration basically seems to have set you up to really struggle for the first 3 years. Who is your source? Or what are your sources that are telling you that the Obama administration was out to really hurt your administration?
Well, first of all, Brian, I haven't struggled because I've done more in the first 2.5 years than any president in the history of our country, and almost everybody admits it. Between rebuilding our military, the biggest tax cut in history, regulation...
Would you say they've been in your way? Would you say they've been in your way?
Good. Well, wait a second. 2 Supreme Court justices. Within a few weeks, we'll have 182 federal judges. It's a record. So I've done more than anybody that's ever had the position in a short time. But they haven't made it pleasant. They're bad people. They hurt a lot of innocent people. People came down here. They got served subpoenas by Mueller and the crew, and they went through 2.5 years. They found nothing. So when you say that, I think we've had the most productive presidency ever for the first 2.5 years, but it doesn't mean that it was pleasant.
No, I know, but maybe I should have been clearer. My point is this. I know you've had that point of view, and some things are coming that direction to prove it, but who is your source that's telling you this?
I can't tell you that. I can only say that we have a lot of information that a lot of bad things happened. And when you look at Strzok and Page with the insurance policy, where, the two lovers, the two great lovers from the FBI, where he's saying, oh, she's going to win $100 million to nothing, but just in case she loses, we have an insurance policy. Well, that means, we're going to take him down. We're going to take down the president. You wouldn't even believe this is possible. But the insurance policy, that was a very big find, finding that text. And the only reason we found it was they didn't want to use their private servers for a very bad reason, okay? So they used the public server. They used the FBI server. So here's the thing. We have so many, regardless of what's coming out, okay, the information that we have now is beyond belief already. But what they have coming out, I hear, is historic.
Sorry, coming out in December. All right, Mr. President.
Of course, the fake news will try and downplay it, but I don't think you can downplay this. The fake news is part of it. It's the Democrats and the fake news, they're one and the same. They will downplay it because, like I see these hearings where we have a great day, and then you pick up the phony New York Times, which is a total phony paper. I don't read it anymore. You can't read it. It's not even, it has no relationship to the truth. And you read a story that took place, and they don't tell you what happened. They only put in the bad. They don't put in the good. Same thing with the Washington Post. It's a phony paper. We no longer have it in the White House.
Mr. President,
and we saved a lot of money.
When we're watching those closing arguments yesterday, Adam Schiff, Democrats love it. I'm sure he's getting pat on the back every time he walks down the halls in Washington because people are saying, keep pushing, we want impeachment. But if you ask Republicans, and we're going to play a soundbite of his closing arguments, they say this is all theatrics. Watch this and we're going to get your reaction.
Okay.
It came down to the fact that the day after Bob Mueller testified that Donald Trump invited Russian interference, hey, Russia, if you're listening, come get Hillary's emails, and later that day, they tried to hack her server. The day after that, Donald Trump is back on the phone asking another nation to involve itself in another U.S. election. That says to me this president believes he is above the law, beyond accountability.
One of the fears that I hear from Russians is that somehow the United States wants Russia to be weak. That could not be farther from the truth. Our goal is to help strengthen Russia. We see Russia with the strong culture, with the incredible intellectual capital that Russia has, as a leader in the 21st century. And we sometimes feel like we believe more in your future than sometimes Russians do.
Was there quid pro quo, extortion, bribery?
No, not at all. Let me tell you, he's a sick puppy. He's so sick. This guy is so... I've been going through it for 2.5 years about Russia. I've been tougher on Russia than any president in history. But for 2.5 years, I've had to listen. This was their talking point, Trump and Russia. And if you take a look at it, just look at the facts. Even look at what I've done for Ukraine by giving them tank busters, by giving them stuff. And Obama would send pillows and sheets. He wouldn't send anything else. It's the whole thing. Now, Schiff, remember this. He makes it all up. He's sick. There's something wrong with him. So, he made up my phone call. He made it up. He made up a phone call. And then when I released it, everybody was embarrassed. And crazy Nancy Pelosi, who, by the way, is going to go down as the worst speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, she hasn't done anything. All she said, she's like paralyzed. She cannot do anything.
Well, Mr. President,
I predict she won't do USMCA because Richard Trumka, who's a good guy, but a big union guy, only cares about a union. Richard Trumka has her mortified. She won't do USMCA, and everybody in the country wants it, the farmers, the manufacturers. But Richard Trumka has her like he plays her like a fiddle. And I predict she won't even do it. And by the way, she's got such pressure on her to do it. All she has to do is put it to a vote. She's holding it for 6 months. It's growing dust on her desk. And Mexico and Canada are calling saying, What's going on? What is our agreement? They signed it. They're all set.
Mr. President,
that's the big thing.
A couple of days ago, your ambassador to the EU, Mr. Sondland, in his opening statement said that there was quid pro quo. There was quid pro quo, he said, because you wanted an investigation into corruption in exchange for a visit to the White House or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's total nonsense. I do want always corruption. I say that to anybody. Why should we give money to a country that's known corrupt? It's a very corrupt country. I mean, I love the people in Ukraine. I know Ukrainian people. They're great people. But it's known as being the third most corrupt country in the world. Now, with this guy, who, by the way, I hardly know him, okay? I've spoken to him a few times. How about the guy with the telephone? How about that one? I guarantee you that never took place. He said he's sitting there listening to me. I spoke so few times to him. But the guy yesterday on the telephone, David Holmes, yes, I heard the conversation. Well, I have really good hearing, and I've been watching guys for 40 years make phone calls, and I can't hear when and you could be 2 feet away. I can't hear people making calls. I can't hear the other side. The phone's up in the air unless you have it on a speakerphone. You can't do it. Right. That was a total phony deal. That was a phony, again, call it deep state.
Right, but Mr. President,
call it anti-Trump.
Your ambassador said that there was quid pro quo because you wanted an investigation into corruption, but it involved Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. And then it becomes like, look, he's going after dirt on the Bidens because Joe Biden could be his opponent in 2020.
First of all, that's not true. Okay, number one, it's absolutely not true. Now, then you have to say, if you saw Joe Biden is corrupt.
Okay.
It's not true, what he said. Now, what he said also is there was no quid pro quo. I want nothing. Remember, it was trending number one. I want nothing. He said that when he was questioned. And by the way, check out his lawyers. They're Hillary Clinton lawyers. This guy has Hillary Clinton lawyers. They're Democrats.
Sondland.
But he's sitting there, Sondland, he's sitting there with Clinton lawyers. They're passing him notes all the time. And he didn't put the most important phrase in his 22-page statement that he read. The most important phrase was, I want nothing. Twice I said it. I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Have President Zelensky do whatever is right. Something to that effect. And they didn't put that in. That was the end of him. They turned off the television. That's what he said. Right. Now, with all of that, of course you have to look at corruption. Are we going to be sending massive amounts of money to a country and they're corrupt and they steal the money and it goes into everybody's bank account? So you have to look at that. And I will tell you this about Joe Biden. I never said it specifically on him, but I watched Joe Biden with the prosecutor. People said was a great prosecutor, and they took him off. And he was prosecuting that company. And the kid who never made 10 cents in his life, and all of a sudden is making millions of dollars the day he... I mean, you tell me, this is a guy who got thrown out of the Navy dishonorably. He gets thrown out of the Navy. Shortly thereafter, it made no money. Went through, made no money.
But Mr. President,
and all of a sudden his father becomes VP, and he's making millions and millions of dollars, not only from there, but from China.
So, Mr. President, the accusation is this, that you're using aid, taxpayer dollars, to attack a political opponent in Joe Biden. And you say, I wanted to hold up that aid because of corruption, but you also in the phone call...
Two reasons.
Okay.
For corruption, because it's known, I want to make sure the money is going to be spent properly. But there's another reason that is maybe to me the most important.
Which is?
Why isn't Germany, France, the European Union, why aren't all those countries in Europe, why aren't they paying? Why is it always the United States, the sucker? I got elected on that.
But they do give aid. They do give aid. We give more, we always have. But Mr. President, you decide to say Rudy Giuliani, a longtime friend, mayor and prosecutor, you send him into the Ukraine. I want you to hear what Ambassador Sondland said, and it's been pretty consistent among State Department workers. It seems like Rudy Giuliani was getting under a lot of people's skin. I want you to listen to what he said.
Well, it's Rudy, you know.
I want you to listen. I've known him for a long time, too. Let's listen.
Secretary Perry, Ambassador Volker, and I worked with Mr. Rudy Giuliani on Ukraine matters at the express direction of the President of the United States. We did not want to work with Mr. Giuliani. We all understood that if we refused to work with Mr. Giuliani, we would lose a very important opportunity to cement relations between the United States and Ukraine.
So it wasn't necessary to put Rudy in the middle of the Ukraine, a country he knew little about, as opposed to let the people do their jobs there and just give them the same mission.
Okay, first of all, Volker, I don't know him. Don't know him. This guy, Sondland, hardly know him. I've had a couple of conversations with him. I see him hanging around, you know, when I go to Europe. But he was really the European Union ambassador, and all of a sudden he's working on this, and, you know, ask about that. Rick Perry, I know him very well. Frankly, I'd like Rick to make a statement, and Rick would make a statement. He's a great guy. I think he already made a statement. Great guy. Rudy is a great crime fighter. Rudy is the best mayor in the history of New York City. Rudy Giuliani is a very legendary figure in our country. Rudy was the U.S. attorney. He also worked at the Justice Department. Believe me, this kind of crap wouldn't have happened in the Justice Department if Rudy Giuliani was the Attorney General, just like I believe Bill Barr will straighten it out, and straighten it out for good. But Rudy Giuliani was one of the great crime fighters of all time. He's also a friend of mine. He's a great person. He's like an iconic figure in this country for two reasons. He was the greatest mayor in the history of New York, and he was the greatest crime fighter probably in the last 50 years. When you're dealing with a corrupt country, if Rudy Giuliani, he's got credentials because of his reputation. When Rudy Giuliani goes there and you hear it's a corrupt country, I mean, it means a lot.
But two of his sources are indicted are right now in jail. Those are two of his sources, and one of his other sources is looked at as a corrupt figure. So in the end, it seems like you had State Department and Rudy Giuliani working against each other, and then the accusation comes in that your ambassador is being tarnished by Rudy Giuliani.
Look, the ambassador, the woman, she wouldn't even put up, she's an Obama person, you know. I said, why are you being so kind? Well, sir, she's a woman, we have to be nice. She's very tough. I heard bad things. And by the way, when I was talking to President Zelensky, it's right on the phone, you can read it. He didn't like her. He brought up her name, and he didn't like her at all. How do you have an ambassador with the president, the new president, because she was so wedded in. And don't forget, Ukraine hated me. They were after me in the election. They wanted Hillary Clinton to win. And when I won, all of a sudden they became so nice. They had to make up. There were many articles where they had to, you know, get to be friendly, you know, because we're like a gravy train for them, okay? We're like their gravy train. So they were totally in favor of Hillary Clinton. But this ambassador that, you know, everybody says is so wonderful, she wouldn't hang my picture in the embassy, okay? She's in charge of the embassy. She wouldn't hang it. It took like a year and a half or 2 years for her to get the picture up. She said bad things about me. She wouldn't defend me, and I have the right to change an ambassador. And Rudy didn't say good things, but he wasn't crazy about it. You know, it wasn't like a major topic, but I have the right to change. This was an Obama person. Didn't want to hang my picture in the embassy. It's standard is you put the President of the United States picture in an embassy. This was not an angel, this woman, okay? And there are a lot of things that she did that I didn't like. And we will talk about that at some time. Okay. But I just want to let you know, this was not a baby that we're dealing with.
There was one woman who was in all of these testimonies this week who was sticking up for you, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. She was asking questions, doing her job. She said her constituents want to get to the bottom of what happened with the Bidens and that investigation. She questioned Tim Morrison and Kurt Volker on Capitol Hill. Listen to this.
Okay.
But the truth is the facts are indeed not complicated. And I'm going to close out with two questions for the both of you. Did Ukraine open an investigation into the Bidens, Mr. Morrison?
Not to my knowledge, ma'am.
Ambassador Volker?
Not to my knowledge either.
Did either of you ever have any evidence of quid pro quo, Mr. Morrison?
No, ma'am.
Ambassador Volker?
I did not.
Any evidence of bribery?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
In the words of my great colleague, we are better than that. Adjourned.
Well, that guy's a winner. He's like in a country of 330 million people. Adam Schiff is the only person who's impressed by lawyers. Literally the only one. Everybody else thinks they're loathsome, because they are. And Adam Schiff literally on television is saying, oh, if you're not a lawyer, you probably don't understand it. You're not impressive like me, I'm a lawyer. It's hilarious. Schiff, by the way, as you know, lacking in some self-awareness. That's part of the reason he spent 2 years pushing the Russia hoax, accusing everyone who questioned him, including us on this program, of being a Russian agent. Look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of John Podesta's email.
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dumping of information.
Of John Podesta's email.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not, you know what, you're not.
And Tucker,
look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's email, they hacked
And I think that Ronald Reagan will be rolling over his grave, and you're carrying water for the Kremlin.
I'm not carrying water for the... You're making... Look, you're a sitting member of Congress on the Intel Committee, and you can't say they hacked...
You're gonna have to move your shoulder to RT Russian television.
Don't understand it. You're not impressive like me, I'm a lawyer.